Hey fellow nerds, today we are going to learn continuous time Fourier transform. We'll start with a recap of representation of periodic signals and then we'll move on to representation of aperiodic signals, Fourier transform, inverse Fourier transform, convergence of Fourier transform and Fourier transform for periodic signals. Let us start with the recap. We learned that periodic signals can be represented using Fourier series. We had two equations. X of t is equal to summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity a k e raised to j k omega naught t, where a k is the Fourier series coefficient and it is written as 1 by t integral over one time period x of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt. The first equation was called a synthesis equation. The second equation is called analysis equation. Now, Fourier series representation was exclusively for periodic signals. In this video, we're going to explore if we can develop something like that for aperiodic signals as well. For that, let us consider a continuous time periodic square wave that is defined over one period as this. X of t is equal to 1 for mod t is less than t1 and it is 0 for t1 less than mod t less than t by 2. On a graph, it will look like this. Between minus t1 and t1, it is 1. Between minus t by 2 and minus t1, it is 0. Between t1 and t by 2, also it is 0. I have called it x prime of t because it is only one period of our signal x of t. X of t is also periodically repeating with a time period t, so the actual signal x of t will look like this. It repeats at every multiple of t. We have actually seen this signal before. In one of our previous videos, we have found out its Fourier series coefficients. We got that ak is equal to 2 sine of k omega naught t1 divided by k omega naught t. Here omega naught is related to t as omega naught is equal to 2 pi divided by t. In this particular case, the time period t is actually 4 times t1. Let's take a closer look to see that. One time period is from minus t by 2 to t by 2 and you can see it includes 4 t1s. Let us try to plot the Fourier series coefficients on a graph now. When t is equal to 4 t1, it will look like this. You can see I have marked minus 2 and plus 2 here. Let me show you how I got it. From the graph, it can be seen that minus 2 and 2 are the two values of k where ak becomes 0 for the first time. That is 2 sine of k omega naught t1 divided by k omega naught t is equal to 0. We have a sine function on the numerator and sine 0 is 0. So why are we not getting 0 at k equal to 0? Because k is in the denominator also. If you give k equal to 0, that will be of the form sine 0 divided by 0, which is indefinite. So when something like that happens, what we usually do is we apply limit. We'll write limit theta tends to 0 sine theta divided by theta. And this is actually equal to 1. So at k equal to 0, this will not become 0. If k equal to 0 is not one of the answers, what is the next argument you can give inside the sine function that will make sine function 0? Yes, we can give pi. That is k omega naught t1, which is the argument of the sine function, should be equal to pi. K multiplied by omega is 2 pi by time period multiplied by t1, in this case is t by 4. This should be equal to pi. Pi and pi gets cancelled. T and t gets cancelled. We have 2 and 4. So we get k is equal to 2. So k equal to 2 is a point where we get ak is equal to 0. Same way, we can also take the condition k omega naught t1 is equal to minus pi for sine k omega naught t1 being 0. So in this case, we'll get k is equal to minus 2. That is what you can see over here. Let us now recreate the same signal, but this time period t is 8 times t1. The graph of x of t will then look like this. You can see that from minus t by 2 to plus t by 2, that is in one time period, we can include 8 t1s. So the pulses in the graphs are getting farther away from each other. The question is, what happens to the plot of Fourier series coefficients in this case? It will look like this. AK becomes 0 for the first time at k equal to 4 and k equal to minus 4 now. Also, you can see there are more number of coefficients in this case. The numbers 4 and minus 4 can be justified easily. To show that, let us take the condition argument of sine should be equal to pi. So we get k omega naught t1 should be equal to pi. K omega naught is 2 pi by t. T1 in this case is t by 8. This is equal to pi. So pi and pi gets cancelled. T and t gets cancelled. 2 and 8 can be cancelled. We get k is equal to 4. Similarly, if you take this is minus pi, you will get minus 4. But the question is, why are there more number of coefficients plotted? To understand that, let's take an example. Assume you have a signal whose fundamental frequency is omega naught. Then you'll be able to find AK at every integer multiple of omega naught. That is 1 at 0, 1 at omega naught, 1 at 2 omega naught, etc. And on the other side, minus omega naught, minus 2 omega naught, etc. Let us take case 1, where omega naught is equal to 2. Then AK will be found at 0, 2, 4, etc. And on the other side, minus 2, minus 4, etc. Assume we increase the time period of this signal. We know fundamental frequency omega naught is 2 pi by t. If you increase the time period, omega naught will decrease. So in the case 2, omega naught has decreased. Let us assume it is 1. Then AK will be found at multiples of 1. So at 0, at 1, at 2, etc. On the other side, minus 1, minus 2, etc. What happened here is, in the first case, after 0, the next coefficient came at 2. In the second case, after 0, the next coefficient came at 1 itself. So when time period increases, fundamental frequency decreases, and we will get more number of k possible. That is why in this plot we have more number of coefficients. Now let us recreate the signal again. But this time t is equal to 16 t1. What is going to happen is the pulses in the signal will go farther away from each other and the graph will look like this. From minus t by 2 to t by 2, we can include 16 t1s. So time period has increased again, which means fundamental frequency has decreased. We should get more coefficients in the plot. So the plot of Fourier series coefficients will look like this. These 2 points are now 8 and minus 8. We have AK is equal to 2 sine k omega naught t1 divided by k omega naught t. Let us bring the t in the denominator to the left hand side. Then this becomes t AK is equal to 2 sine k omega naught t1 divided by k omega naught. We have k omega naught here, we have k omega naught here. It is simply an integer multiple of the fundamental frequency omega naught. Let us call it omega. Omega is equal to k omega naught. Now if we try to plot the function tak, what we will get is actually the envelope of the plot of AK. that will look like this. So let us do that. Let us plot TAK. For that, on the y-axis, I will take TAK, and on the x-axis, we will take omega. Since we have taken k omega naught as omega, let us replace it in the equation. Now TAK is 2 sine omega T1 divided by omega. TAK is a function of omega. That is why we are plotting TAK with respect to omega in the x-axis. If we plot TAK as a function of omega, in the first graph it will look like this. We had earlier marked these 2 points as 2 and minus 2, but that was for k. On the x-axis we had taken k then, and we got k equal to 2 and k equal to minus 2. But now we're taking omega, and omega is k multiplied by omega naught. So this point will now correspond to 2 omega naught, and this point will correspond to minus 2 omega naught. Let us change it. Similarly, when t equal to 8 t1, this point will correspond to minus 4 omega naught, and this point will be 4 omega naught. When t is 16 t1, this point will be minus 8 omega naught, and this point will be plus 8 omega naught. Let us change all of them and plot TAK. But there is a huge issue in plotting TAK like this. Because we have already written here, omega is equal to k omega naught. Omega can only take values, that is integer multiples of omega naught. So we cannot draw a continuous wave that looks like this to plot our TAK. We can only take its values at discrete points, that is integer multiples of omega naught. So let us update this a little bit. Plotting TAK considering omega is k omega naught. If we apply that in the first case where t is equal to 4 t1, where TAK can only take values at these discrete points shown over here, it will look like this. To get a better view, let us remove the plot of AK from this graph. So this is how TAK will look like. In the next case where t is 8 t1, there are even more values that omega can take. And the actual plot of TAK will look like this. Let us remove the plot of AK from it so we can see it better. Let us do the same thing for t equals 16 t1 also. We can see that the points are getting closer and closer to each other as we increase the time period. Let us make some observations based on the graphs we got. The first one says 2 sine omega t1 by omega represents the envelope of TAK. That is, if you consider omega as a continuous variable and try to plot 2 sine omega t1 by omega, you will get this, which is the envelope of TAK. But TAK looks like this because omega is only allowed to take values that are integer multiples of omega naught. Another thing we can observe is coefficients AK are simply the equally spaced samples of the envelope. Let us use this graph to understand it. The envelope is shown over here like this. And we can see the plot of AK is actually just a sample of, and we can see the plot of AK is actually just the sample of envelope at integer multiples of omega naught, so they are equally spaced. The third observation is this: as t increases, fundamental frequency omega naught, which is 2 pi by t, inversely proportional to t, decreases, and the envelope is sampled with closer spacing. We can clearly see that in these graphs. As t increases, the points are getting closer and closer to each other. So for t equal to 4 t1, we got a graph that looks like this. For t equals 8 t1, we got one like this. For t equals 16 t1, we got it like this. Now, let us take another step where time period is infinite. From these three graphs, we can see that as t increases, the pulses in x of t keep moving farther away from each other. That is because one pulse is taking more time now because t is increasing. So if we make t equals infinity, one pulse itself will need infinite time on both sides for its time period. So x of t will look like this. It only has one pulse between minus t1 and t1. So we can say that the signal actually became aperiodic now. Or we can say that an aperiodic signal is actually a periodic signal whose time period is infinite. Also, as we increased time period from 4t1 to 8t1 to 16t1, the plot of TAK gradually changed from this to this to this. We're getting more points and they're getting closer and closer to each other. So if t is increased so much that t is equal to infinity, the plot of TAK will actually become continuous and it will look like this. The plot of TAK approaches the envelope function. We can make two observations here. As t tends to infinity, the periodic square wave approaches a rectangular pulse which is aperiodic. Also, as t tends to infinity, the Fourier series coefficients approach the envelope function. We can make a very useful conclusion from this. It is that an aperiodic signal can be considered as a periodic signal with infinite time period. Now that the idea is clear, let us figure out the mathematics of this. For that, let us take an aperiodic signal called x of t. X of t is non-zero between minus t1 and t1. At every other time, x of t is 0. It is aperiodic. Now, we will construct a periodic signal with x of t as one of its periods. So, on a graph, it will look like this. Since this is the periodic version of the function x of t, we will call it x tilde of t. This symbol stands for tilde, pronounced as tilde. Now, since x tilde of t is periodic, we can use Fourier series representation to represent it. X tilde of t is equal to summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity ak e raised to j k omega naught. Here ak are the Fourier series coefficients and we can write ak is equal to 1 by t integral over one time period. So let's take it from minus t by 2 to t by 2. X tilde of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt. So we have x tilde of t. Its Fourier series is given over here. Its Fourier series coefficients are given here. We are taking integration from minus t by 2 to t by 2 only. That is from this point to this point. But between this point, this is actually equal to x of t, which is one period of x tilde of t. So we can write for minus t by 2 less than t by 2, x tilde of t is actually equal to x of t. So ak becomes 1 by t integral from minus t by 2 to t by 2 x of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt. But x of t looks like this. It only has non-zero values from minus t1 to t1 only. Everywhere else it is 0 anyways. So do we really have to integrate from minus t by 2 to t by 2? We can write it is minus infinity to infinity. It won't make any effect. Let's write it down. Since x of t is equal to 0, outside minus t by 2 less than t by 2, we can write ak is equal to 1 by t integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt. Now let us bring t over here to the left hand side, so we get tak. Tak will be integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt. Let us take k omega naught as omega to write it as a function of omega. Then tak becomes integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. Since this is a function of omega, instead of calling it tak, let us call it x of omega. But what we have here is j omega, it is complex. To show the complex nature, instead of calling it x of omega, let us call it x of j omega. Now x of j omega was tak, so we can write ak is equal to 1 by t times x of j omega. So we got two equations. X of j omega is integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. And ak is 1 by t times x of j omega. Let us bring back our periodic signal x tilde of t. We know that x tilde of t is periodic, so we can write it as a Fourier series. So x tilde of t is equal to summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity ak e raised to j k omega naught t. But we just learned ak can be written as 1 by t times x of j omega. So this becomes summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 1 by t times x of j omega can be written as k omega naught e raised to j k omega naught t. Now there is a relationship between time period t and omega naught. T is equal to 2 pi divided by omega naught. Using that, we can write x tilde of t is summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 1 by t becomes omega naught by 2 pi x of j k omega naught e raised to j k omega naught t. Let's rearrange this equation a little bit. I'll take omega naught from here and keep it here. Now I have a 1 by 2 pi which is a constant. It can come out of the summation. So x tilde of t is 1 by 2 pi summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity x of j k omega naught e raised to j k omega naught t omega naught. Now this is the x of t we started with. This is x tilde of t which is the periodic version of x of t. But we learned earlier that if we take the time period to be infinite, then x tilde of t will converge to x of t. Let us write it down. As t tends to infinity, the first thing that happens is x tilde of t converges to x of t. Now omega naught is 2 pi by t. As t tend to be infinity, omega naught will become really small. So the second thing that happens is this. Omega naught becomes really small. We will call it d omega. We also saw earlier that as t became infinite, instead of getting discrete values like this, we got a continuous wave for tak. So when t was finite, we took summation. When t is infinite, we can take integration. The third consequence of t becoming infinity is that summation will now become integration. Let us incorporate all of these in this equation. X tilde of t becomes x of t. So we can write x of t is equal to 1 by 2 pi Summation becomes integration. Limits are k equals minus infinity to infinity, but we know omega is k omega naught. So if k ranges from minus infinity to infinity, omega will also be from minus infinity to infinity. So limit of integration is from minus infinity to infinity. X of j k omega naught, I will write it as x of j omega. Omega is k omega naught. E raised to j omega t. Omega naught here will become d omega. So we got two equations. X of j omega is integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt, and x of t is 1 by 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity x of j omega e raised to j omega t d omega. The first equation is called the Fourier transform of x of t or Fourier integral of x of t. And the second equation is called inverse Fourier transform. Together we can call them the Fourier transform pair. In Fourier series also we had two equations. Let us have a comparison between them. Using Fourier transform, we can represent an aperiodic signal x of t like this: 1 by 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity x of j omega e raised to j omega t d omega. At the same time, we can represent a periodic signal x tilde of t using Fourier series. We get summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity ak e raised to j k omega naught t. Comparing these two equations, we can see ak in Fourier series is analogous to x of j omega in Fourier transform. Ak is given by 1 by t integral over one time period x tilde of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt, and x of j omega is given by integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. Now, the first thing about these equations is that both are linear combination of complex exponentials. In Fourier transform, since omega is continuous, we take integration. In Fourier series, we take summation. Other than that, you can see e raised to j omega t here and e raised to j k omega naught t here. But k omega naught t is omega itself. So they are both linear combinations of complex exponentials. For periodic signals, the amplitudes are called the set of AK, and they occur at a discrete set of harmonically related frequencies k omega naught. That is, we get A0 at k equal to 0, we get A1 at k equal to 1, we get A minus 1 at k equal to minus 1. So they are occurring at discrete set of frequencies. And harmonically related means all these frequencies are multiples of a same fundamental frequency omega naught. Similarly, in aperiodic signals, the complex exponentials occur at a continuum of frequencies. That means in this case, omega is a continuous variable. Also, here the amplitude will be x of j omega d omega by 2 pi. We can easily see that in this equation. If we keep aside e raised to j omega t, it is multiplied with x of j omega, d omega and 1 by 2 pi. So its amplitude is x of j omega, d omega by 2 pi. We know ak are called the Fourier series coefficients of x of t. Similarly, x of j omega is called the spectrum of x of t. It is called a spectrum because here omega is a continuous variable, whereas in AK, k is a discrete variable. We also learned the relation between AK and x of j omega. AK is 1 by t times x of j omega. So we can say that Fourier series coefficients of x tilde of t are proportional to the samples of the Fourier transform of one period of x tilde of t. Or in simple words, AK is proportional to x of j omega. Let us now move on to a very important concept, that is convergence of Fourier transform. For that, let us first take an aperiodic signal called x of t. We can write its Fourier transform representation. X of j omega is equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. Now, to get the original signal back from the Fourier transform, we can use inverse Fourier transform. We will get 1 by 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity x of j omega e raised to j omega t d omega. Whatever is the output of the inverse Fourier transform, let us call it x prime of t. Now, the idea of convergence is simply this. Is x prime of t the same as our original signal x of t? We can call the difference between x prime of t and x of t its error. We can denote it as e of t, and e of t will be x prime of t minus x of t. The condition for Fourier transform of a signal x of t to converge is this. If x of t has finite energy, then x of j omega will be finite and it will converge. In that case, the energy of the error signal, that is integration from minus infinity to infinity, magnitude of e of t whole square dt will be 0. What this means is that the error doesn't have to be equal to 0, the energy of error has to be equal to 0. In that case, for an LTI system, the effect of x prime of t and x of t will be the same. So practically, we can consider them equal. So we can conclude that even if x prime of t and x of t are slightly different, if there is no energy in their difference, then practically they have the same effect on an LTI system. In Fourier series, we define certain conditions called Dirichlet conditions for convergence of Fourier series. We can define them here also. Dirichlet conditions is a set of conditions that is sufficient to ensure that x prime of t is equal to x of t for any value of t except at a discontinuity. What happens at a discontinuity is that it will take a value that is equal to the average of the values on either side of the discontinuity. We have seen this in the Fourier series also. There are three Dirichlet conditions. First one is x of t must be absolutely integrable. That is, when you integrate from minus infinity to infinity the magnitude of x of t, you should get a finite value, not infinite. Then the Fourier transform will converge. The second condition is x of t must have a finite number of maxima and minima within any finite interval. The third condition is that x of t must have finite discontinuities within any finite interval, and each of these discontinuities should be finite. We discussed the explanation to each of these conditions in the Fourier series video. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. Let us now solve a problem. We have to find the Fourier transform of x of t, which is e raised to minus at u of t, and a is a positive value. Fourier transform of an aperiodic function x of t is given like this. X of j omega is equal to integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. Here x of t is e raised to minus at u of t. So this becomes integral from minus infinity to infinity e raised to minus at u of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. U of t is unit step function. It is 0 for every t that is less than 0. It is 1 for t greater than or equal to 0. So we don't really have to integrate from minus infinity to infinity, because from minus infinity to 0, u of t is anyways 0. We only have to integrate from 0 to infinity, where the value of u of t will be 1. So this becomes integral from 0 to infinity e raised to minus at. U of t is 1 in this interval. So e raised to minus j omega t dt. Let us combine these two by adding their exponents. So it becomes e raised to minus of a plus j omega into t. We can easily integrate this exponential function. We get 1 divided by minus of a plus j omega e raised to minus of a plus j omega t, giving the limits from 0 to infinity. If you give the upper limit, this becomes e raised to minus infinity, which is 0. If you give the lower limit 0, this becomes e raised to 0, which is 1. So x of j omega is 1 by minus of a plus j omega multiplied by 0 minus 1. Negative and negative gets cancelled, and this simply becomes 1 by a plus j omega, and it is given in the question a is a positive value. Since we have j in here, x of j omega is a complex function. So we have to express it in terms of magnitude and phase. Magnitude of x of j omega will be like this. Magnitude of the numerator is just 1 because it's a real value, 1 divided by magnitude of a plus j omega is root of a square plus omega square. If we plot this on a graph, it will look like this. It has its maximum value at omega equal to 0. At omega equal to 0, this becomes 1 by root of a square plus 0 square. 1 by root of a square is 1 by a. So let's mark it on the graph. This is 1 by a. We also have to show the phase of x of j omega. Phase of a plus j omega will be tan inverse of omega by a. That is tan inverse of imaginary part divided by real part. But if we want the phase of 1 by a plus j omega, it will be negative of tan inverse of omega by a. So over here, we want the phase of 1 by a plus j omega. It is minus tan inverse of omega by a. On a graph, it will look like this. In the next problem, we have to write the Fourier transform of x of t, which is e raised to minus a mod of t, where a is a positive value. Fourier transform of an aperiodic signal x of t is given like this. X of j omega is integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. Here x of t is e raised to minus a mod t. So we get integral from minus infinity to infinity e raised to minus a mod t e raised to minus j omega t dt. We know mod of t is minus t if t is less than 0 and mod of t is plus t if t is greater than 0. So we can split this integration into two, one from minus infinity to 0 and the other from 0 to infinity. So we get integral from minus infinity to 0 e raised to minus a when t is negative, mod t is minus t e raised to minus j omega t dt plus integral from 0 to infinity e raised to minus a. When t is positive, we can just take t e raised to minus j omega t dt. We can combine these two by adding their exponents and these two by adding their exponents. So this becomes integral from minus infinity to 0 e raised to a minus j omega t dt plus integral from 0 to infinity e raised to minus of a plus j omega t dt. We can easily integrate them. Integrating the first term, we get 1 by a minus j omega e raised to a minus j omega t limit is from minus infinity to 0 plus integrating the second one, we get 1 by minus of a plus j omega e raised to minus of a plus j omega t, giving the limits from 0 to infinity. So this becomes 1 by a minus j omega multiplied by, giving upper limit, we get e raised to 0, which is 1, minus giving lower limit, we get e raised to minus infinity, which is 0, plus 1 by minus of a plus j omega. Giving upper limit, this becomes e raised to minus infinity, that is 0. Giving lower limit, e raised to 0 is 1. So this is 0 minus 1. This is simply 1, so we can ignore it. This is 0 minus 1, and we have a negative sign here also. So we can cancel them. So this becomes 1 by a minus j omega plus 1 by a plus j omega. Adding them, we get a plus j omega plus a minus j omega divided by a minus j omega multiplied by a plus j omega. On the numerator, plus j omega and minus j omega gets cancelled. We get 2a divided by a minus j omega into a plus j omega becomes a square plus omega square. We can see that this is actually a real function. There is no j in it. So here x of j omega is real, and therefore we only have to plot the magnitude of it. And if we do that, it will look like this. X of j omega has its maximum value at omega equal to 0. At omega equal to 0, we get 2a divided by a square plus 0 square, cancelling a and a from numerator and denominator. This becomes 2 divided by a. So the maximum value is 2 divided by a. In the next question, we have to write the Fourier transform of the impulse function delta of t. We know x of j omega can be written as integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. In this case, x of t is delta of t. So this becomes integral from minus infinity to infinity delta of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. But we know about delta of t. It has non-zero value only at t equal to 0. Everywhere else it is 0. So do we really have to integrate from minus infinity to infinity? No. We can simply take the value of this whole function at t equal to 0 because it has non-zero value only at t equal to 0. So this will be delta of 0 e raised to minus j omega into 0. Delta of 0 is 1. Value of impulse function at t equal to 0 is 1. E raised to 0 is also 1. So x of j omega is simply 1. And interestingly, it is not dependent on omega at all. So we can conclude that Fourier transform of delta of t has equal contributions at all frequencies. It does not depend on the frequency and it is a constant. In the next question, we have to write the Fourier transform of x of t. X of t is defined like this. It is 1 for mod t less than t1 and it is 0 for mod t greater than t1. On a graph, it will look like this. Between minus t1 and t1, we have 1 and at every other time, it is 0. Now, we know x of j omega is given as integral from minus infinity to infinity x of t e raised to minus j omega t dt. But here x of t is 0 for every value of t that is not between minus t1 and t1. So we don't really have to integrate from minus infinity to infinity. We can just integrate from minus t1 to t1. So this becomes integral from minus t1 to t1. Between minus t1 and t1, value of x of t is 1. So we can just put 1 there. E raised to minus j omega t dt. All we have to do is integrate e raised to minus j omega t. So we get 1 by minus j omega e raised to minus j omega t, giving the limits minus t1 to plus t1. So this becomes 1 by minus j omega e raised to minus j omega t1 minus e raised to j omega t1. Now, using Euler's formula, we know e raised to minus j omega t1 is actually cos of omega t1 minus j sine of omega t1. The same way, e raised to j omega t1 will be cos of omega t1 plus j sine of omega t1. So if we subtract this from this, cos omega t1 and cos omega t1 gets cancelled. All we get will be minus 2j sine omega t1. So x of j omega becomes 1 by minus j omega multiplied by minus j 2 sine omega t1. We have minus j here and minus j here. They can be cancelled. So x of j omega is 2 sine omega t1 divided by omega. There is no j in this, so it is real. We can plot its magnitude like this. It has maximum value at omega equal to 0. At omega equal to 0, x of j omega will be 2 sine 0 divided by 0. But this is of the form 0 by 0, which is indefinite. So we will apply limit. We can write limit omega tends to 0, 2 sine omega t1 divided by omega. We know that limit theta tends to 0, sine theta by theta is equal to 1. So if we can write this in that form, it will be easier for us to calculate. So we'll write it like this: 2 limit omega tends to 0, sine omega t1 divided by omega. In the denominator, if I had omega t1, then this will be of the form sine theta by theta. So I'll put a t1 there. To cancel it, I'll multiply it with t1. Now what we have over here is of the form limit theta tends to 0, sine theta by theta. It is equal to 1. So the value becomes 2 times 1 times t1 or 2t1. The maximum value of this function is 2t1. In the next question, the Fourier transform of a function x of t is given. X of j omega is defined like this. It is 1 for mod omega being less than w, and it is 0 for mod omega being greater than w. We have to find out the function x of t. On a graph, this would look like this. X of j omega is 1 between minus w and w, and it is 0 for any other value of omega. To find x of t, we have to use inverse Fourier transform. We can write x of t is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity x of j omega e raised to j omega t d omega. But x of j omega is non-zero only between minus w and w, so we don't have to integrate from minus infinity to infinity. We can just integrate from minus w to plus w. And between minus w and w, x of j omega is only 1, so we can substitute 1 for x of j omega. This simply becomes 1 by 2 pi integral from minus w to w 1 into e raised to j omega t d omega. We can easily integrate this. X of t becomes 1 by 2 pi integral of e raised to j omega t, but the important point is integration is with respect to the variable omega. So coefficient of omega here is jt. So we get 1 by jt e raised to j omega t limit from minus w to plus w. So this becomes 1 by j 2 pi t e raised to j wt minus e raised to minus j wt by giving the limits. Now, by using Euler's formula, we can write e raised to jwt is cos wt plus j sin wt. Similarly, e raised to minus jwt will be cos wt minus j sin wt. If we subtract this from this, cos wt and cos wt gets cancelled. All we have is 2j sin wt. So this becomes 1 by j 2 pi t multiplied by 2j sin wt. We have j and 2 here, we have j and 2 here, they get cancelled. So x of t is sin omega t divided by pi t. On a graph, we can plot it like this. A very interesting thing that we can see here is this. In the last question, for a function that looked like this, we got a Fourier transform that looks like this. In this question, for a function that looked like this, we got a Fourier transform that looks like this. Now, we learned Fourier series for periodic signals and Fourier transform for aperiodic signals. It is a little inconvenient that we have to use two set of equations and two set of methods for periodic signals and aperiodic signals. If we could also develop Fourier transform representations for periodic signals, then we could bring all the signals under the same umbrella. In fact, it is possible. Fourier transform representations can also be developed for periodic signals. And if we do that, it will help us consider both periodic and aperiodic signals within one unified context. To understand that, let us start with considering a signal x of t whose Fourier transform is x of j omega is equal to 2 pi delta of omega minus omega naught. To determine the function x of t, we will use inverse Fourier transform, by which we know x of t is equal to 1 by 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity x of j omega e raised to j omega t d omega. Here x of j omega is 2 pi delta of omega minus omega naught. So this becomes 1 by 2 pi integral from minus infinity to infinity 2 pi delta of omega minus omega naught e raised to j omega t d omega. We have a 2 pi here, we have a 2 pi here, that can be cancelled. So this simply becomes integral from minus infinity to infinity delta of omega minus omega naught e raised to j omega t d omega. Now we know about delta of omega minus omega naught. It is a shifted impulse function. It will only have non-zero value at omega naught. Everywhere else it is going to be 0. So do we really have to integrate from minus infinity to infinity? No, this function is going to be 0 everywhere other than omega naught. So to get the integration, all you have to do is take the value of this whole function at omega equals omega naught. So we get delta of omega naught, which is 1 multiplied by e raised to j omega naught t. So the function we were talking about, whose Fourier transform is of the form 2 pi delta of omega minus omega naught, is simply e raised to j omega naught t. Then what will be the function x of t for x of j omega is 2 pi delta of omega minus k omega naught. The only difference I made is instead of omega naught, I put k omega naught. So the only difference that will happen to our signal x of t will be, we'll have k omega naught instead of omega naught here. So we can write x of t will be e raised to j k omega naught t. But this is only the first question I have. In the second part, I want x of t for x of j omega is equal to 2 pi a k delta of omega minus k omega naught. That is, the whole thing is multiplied with the constant ak. So the only difference that will happen to x of t is it will be multiplied with the constant ak. In this case, x of t will be ak e raised to j k omega naught t. I am not done. I have a third condition. I want to find x of t for x of j omega is equal to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity of this x of j omega. That is 2 pi ak delta of omega minus k omega naught. Now in that case, the x of t I get will be summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity of this x of t. That is ak e raised to j k omega naught t. But this expression is familiar to us. It is simply the Fourier series representation of a periodic signal x of t. So that should also mean that the Fourier transform of a periodic signal x of t is summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 2 pi ak delta of omega minus k omega naught. So the conclusion we can make from here is simple. For a periodic signal x of t, which can be represented using Fourier series like this, summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity ak e raised to j k omega naught t, its Fourier transform will simply be x of j omega is equal to summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 2 pi ak delta of omega minus k omega naught. Let's put this in a box. So x of j omega is the sum of 2 pi ak delta of omega minus k omega naught, where k can take any integer value from minus infinity to infinity. If I give k equal to 0, I will get 2 pi a0 delta of omega minus k omega naught, omega minus 0, that is delta of omega. If I give k equal to 1, I will get plus 2 pi a1 delta of omega minus 1 omega naught. It goes on like that. On the other side, if I give k equals minus 1, I will get 2 pi a minus 1 delta of omega plus omega naught. And it goes on like that. Now, what is 2 pi a naught delta of omega? We know delta of omega is an impulse at omega equal to 0. So 2 pi a naught delta of omega is an impulse at omega equal to 0 whose magnitude is 2 pi a naught. Similarly, 2 pi a1 delta of omega minus omega naught is an impulse at omega naught whose magnitude is 2 pi a1. The same way, 2 pi a minus 1 delta of omega plus omega naught is an impulse at minus omega naught whose magnitude is 2 pi a minus 1. If we plot this on a graph, it will look like this. At omega equal to 0, we have an impulse whose magnitude is 2 pi a naught. At omega is 1 omega naught, we have an impulse. Its magnitude is 2 pi a1. At omega equals 2 omega naught, we have an impulse whose magnitude is 2 pi a2. On the other side, when omega is minus omega naught, we have an impulse whose magnitude is 2 pi a minus 1. So what we get here is a train of impulses. So we can conclude that a Fourier transform of a periodic signal with Fourier series coefficients set of ak is actually just a train of impulses at harmonically related frequencies. Harmonically related means all these frequencies are integer multiples of a common frequency, which is the fundamental frequency omega naught. We get an impulse at every multiple of omega naught. And the area or the magnitude of the impulse at the kth harmonic frequency k omega naught is simply 2 pi multiplied by ak. To show an example, I have taken the same periodic square wave that we dealt with before, where t is 4 times t1. In one of our previous videos, we have found out the Fourier series coefficients of this wave. and it was sine k omega naught t1 divided by pi k. Now let us try to find out its Fourier transform. Since this is a periodic signal, we have x of j omega is equal to summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 2 pi a k delta of omega minus k omega naught. Here ak is sine k omega naught t1 by pi k. So this becomes summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 2 pi sine k omega naught t1 divided by pi k delta of omega minus k omega naught. We have a pi here, we have a pi here, it can be cancelled. So it becomes 2 sine k omega naught t1 divided by k. Let us try to find out the value of x of j omega for k equals 0. So this becomes 2 times sine k omega naught t1 divided by k. Again, if you give k equal to 0, numerator has 0, denominator has 0. This will be of the form 0 by 0. So we have to make it in the form sine theta by theta and apply limit. So we can write 2 times sine k omega naught t1 divided by k. If I have k omega naught t1 in the denominator also, then this will be of the form sine theta by theta. To get that, I will multiply it with omega naught t1 and divide it with omega naught t1. Now if we apply limit to this will become 1. So what we will have is 2 into 1 into omega naught t1, that is 2 into omega naught is 2 pi by time period multiplied by t1 is t divided by 4. T and t gets cancelled. 2, 2 and 4 gets cancelled. So value of x of j omega at k equal to 0 is simply pi. The same way, let us try k equals 1. We will get 2 into sine of k omega naught t1 divided by k. So this becomes 2 sine of k is 1. So omega naught t1 divided by k is 1. So we have 2 sine of omega naught is 2 pi by t multiplied by t1 is t by 4. T and t can be cancelled. 2 and 4 can be cancelled. We get sine pi by 2 which is 1. So this is 2 sine pi by 2. So 2 into 1 or 2. At k equal to 1, the value of x of j omega is 2. Let us try one more value. K equals minus 1. Then we have 2 sine k omega naught t1 divided by k. Giving value, we get 2 sine minus omega naught t1 divided by k is minus 1. So minus 2 sine of minus omega naught is 2 pi by t. T1 is t by 4. T and t can be cancelled. 2 and 4 can be cancelled. We get 2. So this is minus 2 sine of minus pi by 2. Sine minus theta is minus sine theta, but we already have a negative here, so it will become plus. This is simply 2 sine pi by 2 or 2. Well, we can find values of x of j omega for other values of k's also. But if you plot it on a graph, it will look like this. We have impulses at every integer multiple of omega naught. For a better comprehension, we can even show the envelope of this. In the next question, we have to plot the Fourier transform of x of t being sine omega naught t and cos omega naught t. Let's do the first one. X of t is equal to sine omega naught t. We know using Euler's formula we can write sine omega naught t like this: e raised to j omega naught t minus e raised to minus j omega naught t divided by 2j. Splitting the terms, we get 1 by 2j e raised to j omega naught t minus 1 by 2j e raised to minus j omega naught t. So we have plus omega naught and minus omega naught in this. That is, this corresponds to k equal to 1 and this corresponds to k equal to minus 1. Then this has to be a1 and this has to be a minus 1. So let's write that down. A1 is 1 by 2j and a minus 1 is minus 1 by 2j. Ak will be 0 for all other values of k that is not equal to minus 1 or 1. Now at k equal to 1, omega will be 1 omega naught and then x of j omega becomes 2 pi multiplied by a1, that is 2 pi multiplied by 1 by 2j. 2 and 2 gets cancelled, we get pi by j. At k equal to minus 1, omega will be minus 1 times omega naught, and we learned x of j omega will have magnitude 2 pi a k being minus 1, 2 pi a minus 1. So 2 pi multiplied by minus 1 by 2j or 2 pi divided by minus 2j. So this is minus pi by j. We can plot it like this. At omega equals omega naught, we have an impulse whose magnitude is pi by j. At omega equals minus omega naught, we have an impulse whose magnitude is minus pi by j. Let us now do the second part. X of t is equal to cos omega naught t. Using Euler's formula, this can be written like this: e raised to j omega naught t plus e raised to minus j omega naught t divided by 2. Let us split the terms. 1 by 2 e raised to j omega naught t plus 1 by 2 e raised to minus j omega naught t. Similar to sine omega naught t, here also we have plus omega naught and minus omega naught. This corresponds to k equal to 1 and this corresponds to k equals minus 1. So this has to be a1 and this has to be a minus 1. So in this case, we get a1 is equal to 1 by 2. A minus 1 is also equal to 1 by 2. Ak is equal to 0 for all other values of k that is not equal to minus 1 or 1. Now, when k is equal to 1, omega will be equal to 1 times omega naught. Then x of j omega, according to our definition, will be 2 pi a1. That is 2 pi multiplied by 1 by 2 or 2 pi by 2, we get pi. The same way, at k equals minus 1, omega is minus omega naught and x of j omega will be 2 pi a minus 1, that is 2 pi by 2 or pi. Plotting it on a graph, we'll get this. At omega equals omega naught, we have an impulse whose magnitude is pi, and at omega equals minus omega naught, we have another impulse whose magnitude is pi. Here we have to find out the Fourier transform of the impulse train, which is defined like this: summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity delta of t minus kt. So this is the sum of all delta of t minus kt, where k can take any integer value from minus infinity to infinity. If we give k equal to 0, we will get delta of 0. If we give k equals 1, we get delta of t minus t. If we give k equals 2, we get delta of t minus 2t. On the other side, if we give k equals minus 1, we get delta of t plus t. If k is minus 2, we get delta of t plus 2t. Now, delta of 0 is an impulse at t equal to 0. Delta of t minus t is an impulse at t equal to t. Delta of t minus 2t is an impulse at 2t. Delta of t plus t and delta of t plus 2t are respectively at minus t and minus 2t. So on a graph it will look like this. We have impulses at every multiple of t. To find the Fourier transform, first we need to find out the Fourier series coefficients. We know ak is given like this, 1 by t integral over one time period. So let us take it from minus t by 2 to plus t by 2. X of t e raised to minus j k omega naught t dt. But between minus t by 2 and t by 2, all we have is one impulse at t equal to 0. So instead of x of t, we can just write delta of t. Again, delta of t only has value at t equal to 0. So we don't really have to integrate from minus t by 2 to t by 2. We can just take the value of this whole function at t equal to 0. So this becomes 1 by t multiplied by delta of t at t equal to 0 is 1 multiplied by e raised to minus j k omega naught t at t equal to 0 is e raised to 0, which is also 1. So ak is simply 1 by t. Now that we have ak, we can find the Fourier transform of this function. This function is obviously periodic with a time period t. So for periodic functions, we know Fourier transform x of j omega is given like this. Summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity 2 pi ak delta of omega minus k omega naught. Here 2 pi is a constant, it can come out of the summation. Ak is 1 by t, it is also a constant, it can also come out of the summation. So this becomes 2 pi by t summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity delta of omega minus k omega naught. Now summation from k equals minus infinity to infinity delta of omega minus k omega naught is again an impulse train. At k equal to 0, you get delta of omega. At k equal to 1, you get delta of omega minus omega naught. It goes on like that. On the other side, if k equals minus 1, you get delta of omega plus omega naught. So technically, you are getting an impulse at every integer multiple of omega naught. Except it has an amplitude which is equal to 2 pi by t. On a graph, it will look like this. We have impulses of magnitude 2 pi by t at every integer multiple of omega naught. So we can conclude that Fourier transform of a periodic impulse train in the time domain with time period t is simply another periodic impulse train in the frequency domain with period 2 pi by t, which is omega naught. So that's all about it for today. See you in the next video and don't forget to subscribe.